I want you to remember the first F of bouncing back, which is, how does it feel? And the cheetah story, how was I breathing when I felt I was about to be attacked by a cheetah? I was hyperventilating, or stop breathing at all. And that signals to my body, do I feel safe or do I feel scared? You see, every one of those 22,000 breaths that we have on a day is telling our body which state we're in. And anytime we want to move from stressed to safe, to feel more content, to feel more at peace, which is pretty much the number one thing that people are asking for when they're saying, well, I feel happy when I feel content or at peace. There's one of those things. So what if we can do the opposite? What if we can use our breath to create some sense of calm? And this is the quickest way. The quickest way to move from stress to calm is this thing called the double breath. And I know you're watching with me, and I was a bit embarrassed if we were going to do it in the conference. So I want you to try it with me now. It's 3 breaths, okay? So here's how I want you to do it. So play along. One hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And what I want you to do is you're going to breathe in fully and then hold it for a millisecond and then breathe in again. And then this is where the key is. Can you breathe out twice as long as you're breathing in? So with me, we'll work it in together, 3 breaths. So think about, where are you on a scale of stress at the moment? The 10 is super stressed, tearing my hair out. Me, not you. 1 is like your Zen Roshi monk, drinking a tequila on the beach. Are you ready? 1 hand on your chest, 1 hand on your belly. Breathing in. Breathe in one more time. And out. One more time. Breathing in. Final one. Breathing in. Breathing in again. One more time. Breathing out. So that's it. One tool, one breathing tool. No one needs to know you're doing it. You don't have to put your hand on your chest. That's to notice, where are you breathing? But you can start to see that in 3 breaths, you can move your sense of calm to a low point where you can then involve this part of your brain, which is how you use your focus and your thoughts. So remember what that thoughts was. Well, what are we focusing on? Remember the picture where people are like this or like this. So it's not important what you look at, but it is important what you see. And then those thoughts have power. So what does it mean? Maybe your thought is, I am a learner. It's a pretty powerful thought. So things aren't going your way. Okay, I'm a learner. What does that mean next? I'm focusing on faith, which is maybe as an outcome, this is going to work. I may not getting it quite right yet, but over time, I will. And there's 3 questions which will allow you to help a friend. All we can do to help us, it allows us to use this rational part of the brain. So if you're struggling or you're working with a person, well, name the emotion. How does it feel? Feels like I feel angry at the moment. Remember, 90% of anger is about feeling out of control. And you can validate that with, well, that sounds tough. What's next? Question number 2. Remember, 3 questions to get us to start to focus differently. What are the options now? So give me an option of where this challenge is. What's one thing you could do? Is do nothing. What does that do for you? It means your future is here. Okay, what else could you do? Let them paint the picture. Get them to here. So it's the same you, but the choices that you make will lead to a different outcome. And then the question 3 is, which one of these options are you going to commit to? Because that creates an action. I'm fortunate that I get to work as a business coach consultant at a construction type of company. And they've got a fabrication part, they've got a workshop, then they've got a leadership team. And I was having our one-to-one with the CEO, and I said to him, what's going on? And he said, just some of our team are not delivering what they're supposed to be delivering. Oof, that sounds tough. As I validated his emotion, I then had 3 questions which took the conversation in a different way. Here are the questions. Question 1, how does it feel? And he made this big sound, which was, did this with his shoulders. So it just gets so frustrating that I thought we were supposed to be doing this thing, but it's clear that teams aren't doing it because they set a high bar, but the dependability of the team wasn't there. Once I got this off his heart almost, I could ask the question 2, which is, what are the options you've got available? And he said, well, if I don't address it, then no one else will. I said, so what are the options? He said, well, option A is I go and mention it to this team, and we create an order, and we create a blueprint which says, I want it to be ticked, and then we celebrate when it gets done. Okay, that's one option. Starting point here. What's option 2? Well, we could do nothing because it's working okay. It's just not working brilliantly. So he created 2 separate options. It's the same him, it's the same skill set, it's the same company. But his future is very different. Once he said it out loud, I've got the 3rd question, which is, so which of those are you going to be committed to taking a step towards? And so, well, if I do this one, nothing changes. If I do this one, we change, we get better. Yeah, but what are you committed to taking? It was that. Sometimes we know what to do, but asking the question, now what are you going to do? And how committed are you to taking that step? Made him then take the step. So how can we use these 3 questions as individuals? Sometimes it's pretty tough. The life that we live is pretty turbulent. There's some ups and there's some downs. That's called being human. And when we're in the down moments, sometimes, how do we get back up to here? How do we then flourish? And asking the question, and do it with me while you're on this listening experience. Think of one thing that you're finding is a challenge at the moment. Imagine I ask you this question. How do you feel about that? And use that to understand how you feel. Explain it to yourself. Question number 2. What are the options that you've got? Have you got 2 options or 3 options? You may pause the video and say, actually, option 1 is this. How does that feel? Option 2 is this. How does that feel? Option 3 is this. How does that feel? Which one feels right for you? Bear in mind, option to not do anything is always available. And then the 3rd question, what are you prepared to do? Because the step sometimes, and that step sometimes is take a step back. Sometimes it's to let go. Sometimes it's actually now in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to start to do this. But creating a decision gives us a sense of freedom. It then says, maybe now is the way that I'm one decision away from making a different world. And it's that start point. because I'm going to take option A in this moment. So remember those F's. How does it feel? What's our strategy there? One hand here. I can control some of those emotions. 2, what are we focusing on? Remember those 3 questions. Name the emotion. What are your options? Which one do you want to do? 3, find a friend. Are we brave enough to share it with our people around us? How are we allowing them to grow? How are they allowing us to have some sense of connection? Remember, the biggest predictor of our long-term happiness, strength and depth of social connection. Do we have faith? Do we have a compelling future that the stuff you're doing now, whether it's great or not great, and some of us are going through some really tough stuff, is that gonna help us in some way in the future? Where may this be something I'm gonna learn from? And finally, how are we gonna use that energy in that 4 minutes? That first 4 minutes of any interaction is our happiness reputation. Use that. Thank you so much for what you're trying to do. And I can't wait to see you some point in the future. Email is martin@artofbrilliance.co.uk. Connect with me on LinkedIn or some other platform, and I cannot wait to serve you sometime in the future. Best wishes.